All right, gentlemen, welcome to the latest edition of Dads and Ed. If you, oh, good, yes, absolutely, that deserves an applause. We're turning 30 tonight,
Yeah, big
or
big deal.
or as most women would say, 29 with a year of experience. So it's a big night around here. We're
Yeah.
excited. The gang's all here. So far, we've not had any technical difficulties. I'm sure we'll fix that by the time the night's over with. Uh,
Oh boy.
and Brent
Is
is
on
in
the
the
house.
sound effect wheelhouse.
You got to pause
Oh,
every so often to give me, segue it in. You're kind of going too fast right now, Josh. Slow it down a little bit.
We're not used to the high-tech effects going on, like on
I
cue.
know. So soon, yes. Josh Allen, Tech Integration Specialist, Ed Camp Omaha Organizer, and I mentioned that because we're going to discuss it later. There's always a Dads and Ed show with me shamelessly plugging something that we're going to talk about or something that I'm involved with. 3 wonderful kids, 7-year-old, 4-year-old, 2-year-old, excuse me, and a beautiful wife. Very excited to be joined by Devin. You want to start?
Yeah, sure. I will. I was going to, start off with my wife, but she's been dissing us and not listening to our podcast to listen to the Run Iowa podcast that our friend Rob Lindquist does
Really?
with another teacher. She's been binge listening to the Run Iowa podcast, and I'm not sure the last time she watched or listened to a Dads and Ed podcast. So, um, so
I
I'm gonna leave.
apologize for giving her props earlier today. Then.
I know. That's why I almost made a snarky comment back just to
Mm.
not give her props. But she's been binge watching, and she's looking in here now. Peanut Gallery is looking in here. Oh, she did subscribe to the podcast.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, she's got 27
Oh,
episodes to listen to.
so here's the thing. What she just said, she listened to the last episode, and that I didn't talk, which means you two clowns are taking up all the airtime.
That was
All right.
probably the one you were
Anyways.
gone.
When I'm here, when I'm gone, it's kind of the same. Devin Schoening, I'm the K-12 Instructional Technology Program Lead in Council Bluffs, Iowa. My two wonderful kids, Claire asked to introduce me again tonight, and I said she had to have a week off, so that's where we're at tonight.
I was thinking as you guys were talking that I don't think our wives have really listened or tuned in or been a peanut gallery since about the second or third episode. Like it was like
28
something
episodes
initially
ago.
they were like, "What are these guys doing?" And then they're out. Long
Sure
gone.
enough, I have to say, so the hashtag's already blowing up. Rob Lindquist never listens, and the one night we give his podcast a shout out,
Oh,
guess who's watching?
Of
gee.
course. Yep.
All right, Brent, go ahead.
Yeah, so Brent Catlett here from Independent School District in Kansas City, Missouri, Director of Technology, father of 5, married to an amazing woman who's dealing with our 4-week-old. I can hear him screaming upstairs. And so I'm kind of thankful for Dads and Ed at this particular hour. But don't worry, guys. I'll make it up here shortly thereafter. I'll be the one up, for duty until about 1 a.m., give or take a night.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll get done soon, and you can go take a nap before that happens.
Yeah.
If you like to connect with the show, like we mentioned, use the hashtag Dads and Ed. We've already got quite a few people chiming in on that, and we'll get to those. You can tweet at us at Dads and Ed. We are on Google Plus, which is where these podcasts start out with a live show, which we're obviously doing right now. Plus Dads and Ed, you can email us anytime. If you miss part of the show, you can be like Devin's wife and subscribe in iTunes just by searching Dads and Ed, or check out the website for dadsanded.podbean.com. Big news over the weekend, of course, is March Madness. I'm happy to report 3/4 of my bracket is still intact. I would like to thank Rob Lindquist, Iowa State, for tanking.
Mm-hmm.
You're like the Philadelphia 76ers, man. What is the problem? So yeah, I'm missing. I have Michigan State. Bill Little says not a Michigan State fan, but never count Tom Izzo out. Bill, that is exactly why I picked Michigan State to go to the Final Four, and I am looking super smart right now. So I'm missing Nova. I'm missing Iowa State, Baylor, somebody else. I don't remember. Anyway, how are you guys doing? Good, bad?
I'm
I
kind of
think I was.
I'm busted pretty much.
I was doing all right really until last night. I had Maryland and UNI. So until then, I think I was doing okay. And the couple of pools that I'm in, I was right there. But I think those two busted me. I still have three of the four. I still have Wisconsin, Kentucky, and Gonzaga. With Wisconsin beating Gonzaga in the finals, but we'll see.
Darren's out here throwing out the Duke love, and
I know.
for Coach K now he's throwing out there back to Bill and yourself, Devin.
Yeah, I see
Uh,
that.
I'll agree he's a heck of a coach, but I'm kind of thinking Carolina might go past those guys this year in the tourney. We'll see. I see Duke choking soon, just like my friends from Kansas.
Ow.
That was quick, right? How long you live down there? You're already
I'm not
feeling
in
the
Kansas. I'm in
anti-Kansas
Missouri.
love, right?
I'm in
I
Missouri.
know.
Thank
I
you.
know.
It's a long ways away from here, about 20 minutes.
That's what
Kind
I
of like
mean.
the river, up in Nebraska and Iowa.
No,
I
that's
do.
good.
I did, I threw Rob under the bus right away with the Iowa State joke. I did see today he tweeted one of the local radio personalities who was asking, anybody have any questions about the tournament? And Rob was wondering if it was still okay to be crying about the Iowa State loss 5 days later. So it's obviously very traumatic. We do have someone in our school district that their license plate is ISU grad. I really feel bad for them. They have to drive around with that on their license plate. The big question that I keep hearing around March Madness is college basketball any good anymore? Is it worth the watch? Is the game watered down? Is the quality down? And Brent, we can start with you. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah,
The
down in
ratings are
Kansas,
still up. You can't
right?
argue with the ratings, but
The local guys down here I listen to on the radio as I drive around the district or just kind of to and from work, and they were going off about that too, about the scoring, that the scoring is down and the pace of play and the emphasis on defense and stuff. And even if you look at some of the tournament scores, they've been lower. I think it's kind of like the NBA, right? Suddenly they start playing defense when it's playoff time, and so I do. I don't know. I'm okay with like maybe trying some new things in the wrinkle of maybe shorter shot clocks, those sorts of things. At the same time, I still love March Madness, and I don't really see any difference. It's still the same. The excitement's still there. This is interesting point I want to talk about. So Saturday night after I left at Camp Omaha, I met this guy at our gala fundraiser for ISD who worked in technology, and he was telling me how during March, that's the worst month for bandwidth in the realm of and it has to do with March Madness as well as sick days, people calling in sick. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. So I think there's still quite a bit of office pools, those sorts of things around it. Personally, as a coach, I still love to watch the game and watch the coaches coach and do their thing and watch the X's and O's. So I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent about some of that.
See that coaching thing you just talked about. I think there's a big difference between people who watch really sports of any kind, but since we're talking basketball, the casual fan know what they know about basketball is that you put the ball in the basket, right? Most of them know it's worth 2 points, and that's what you get. I think that people who watch a lot of basketball, who coach basketball, look at it and you see completely different things. I'll watch it with a group of friends who are coaches. And we'll notice all kinds of little nuances like screens and defense and strategy, and it makes it a different experience. But I have another group of people that I'll watch a game with, and it's really is about the scoring. I still think though this weekend of the tournament, there were people talking about the games not being great, and it kind of like you said, come in. Not quite the same game as maybe it was a number of years ago, and we still had a great weekend of games. Thursday was as good a day of games I think you'll see any time in the tournament. With 5 games decided by 1 point or something like that. It's a great day of basketball. So I don't think it's down. I think the game is a little different. It's certainly not the days of I think Loyola Marymount beat Michigan like 154 to 129 or something like that in the tournament. I mean, those days aren't there anymore. You also have to look at the physical play and the way people really can. You can just kill each other in the lane. I mean, that's the thing I've noticed a lot about the tournament is play in the paint is just brutal, and you don't get a ton of fouls called anymore. It's kind of interesting.
Breaking news: at E Schoening is following the Dad's Net account on Twitter.
Just now?
Just now.
Good gracious.
Good gracious.
Am I following the Dad's Net? Well, good for her.
Yeah.
Kudos.
So the other big event for the weekend was Ed Camp Omaha. We were actually able to watch part of the UCLA UAB game at the beautiful Community Engagement Center on the campus of UNO. They have 24 42-inch or 46-inch TVs up on a wall that all are like one big TV, and it was fantastic. But we had 150 or so people show up for Ed Camp, one of the bigger ones we've had. I was talking with some people Saturday night. It kind of felt like there was a lot more energy this year than last year for some reason. But both of you, we should have took a picture. We should have done a Dad's and Ed picture. I didn't even think about it.
We should have.
Because both of you were there. One of you registered, one did not. And we'll let you guys decide who that was. Devin. But anyway, your takeaways from Ed Camp Omaha?
Well, one takeaway was we were asked by a listener, Nate Balcom, when we're going to do a live Dads and Ed from an Ed camp sometime. So at least one person would like us to do a live version of the show sometime at an Ed camp or a conference or something. So I thought that would be pretty cool.
Huh. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
There you go.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I totally enjoyed it. It was worth the drive for me, even though I did have to scoot kind of at the end of the third session before the fourth to get back for the fundraiser that we had for our district. But worth the drive for me, absolutely. And I put out a little on my drive home. I was kind of trying to catch up with some tweets because, ironically enough, the session that I was in, basically, none of us got our phone out. None of us had laptops out. We just talked and had an amazing conversation. And Devin was in that room. Rob Lindquist, who's following along tonight, was in that room. Ann Feldman was in that room. Amanda, I forget her last name or how it's said. It starts with a Z. And Nick was there as well. And forgive me for not knowing his last name.
Davis. Yeah.
Davis, thank you. And we kind of just ended up making our own session as we were walking out of the, initially when it started, and that's, I don't know, I just love it. I love Ed Camp. I've never been to one that I didn't love, or at least get something out of, I guess. And this was no different for me in the sense of, Devin pushed my thinking and Rob pushed my thinking. Everybody in that little group that we had, and I just really enjoyed the opportunity to kind of share where I'm at, some thoughts I have going on in my district, and be able to share that with people that are in the same boats and like-minded and can push my thinking. And so I know, Josh, we were shouting you out through the door that was open there off and on as we saw you walk down the hall, busy, doing your thing as the organizer. But for me, that was worth it. I had an awesome conversation as well in the third session, enjoyed the lunch. Really liked how you guys brought lunch in this year because you could just stay put and continue conversations. But as I was driving home, I had some time to think, of course. My daughter fell asleep on the ride back, and I was just kind of sitting there tweeting some folks back and thinking a little bit. And I challenged Ann and Mickey to write a blog post about the evolution of it, because I had tweeted that it's interesting to think of my evolution of what I want and get from going to an Ed camp, right? So to me, the days of app smash showdowns and all that sort of stuff is over. I don't need that, and or kind of want it. Not to say that there might not be a need for someone there that does want that, but personally, that's not where I'm at. So I still have to write my post yet. Mickey posted hers today. I don't know if you saw that, and I haven't seen Ann's yet. But anyway, so that's what I want to do too, is just kind of further my reflection about the time I had there and just in general with it, to try to, I guess, in my own way, promote others attending it, because I just think we had a lot of new, would you agree, Josh, the hands that went up that were newbies? Tons of people there that were new to Ed Camp.
That's a common issue that, I don't know if issue is the right word, but it's a common theme among Ed camps, is that you have so many people that are new. And that's not a bad thing by any means. But the problem is, if people that go and then they say they like it, well, then why don't they come back?
Yeah.
Because you don't have a lot of necessarily return people. Um, I would venture to say 60 to 70% of the people that we had there on Saturday were brand new
Mm-hmm.
Ed Camp, and that's great. And I am extremely thankful for them being there, and I hope that they got a lot out of the day. But I just wonder, and we've had this conversation before, just off the air, but well, how do we get people to come back? And it's not unique to Ed Camp Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it happens at all the ed camps. But if you like it and you find it so valuable, why don't you come back? That's $1 million question that even the Ed Camp Foundation is looking into. So they're actually working on research to figure out why that happens. But I don't know.
Well, and I think it is something that for a lot of people is new, and I think it's almost like people fall into a couple of camps. You're either a newbie. The other group that weren't new people to ed camps were folks who go to, regularly, whatever regularly is, but have been to a number of them, and they end up kind of having conversations. It's not quite. I think because I agree with Brent. I don't go, and it's not just ed camp. It's also just conferences. Period. I have a hard time going and either attending or presenting sessions that are exactly what he just said. The newest tool, the app smash, all that stuff. It's just not where I'm at either. So I spent I had to leave kind of after lunch, and both of the first sessions we sat in that room and had a great conversation. Sauter was in there too. About 8 of us, and that was worth it for me too. Making the drive over and just having that for a couple hours. I don't know that I would get as much out of, again, some of the sessions, and not that I want to continue to learn, but it just, it seems like there are those two camps, the ones who go to quite a few, and they're there for a different purpose, are the ones who are new. I don't know what the reason is or why it happens that way, but I think that's probably true.
I was almost thinking about how it provides like guys like us the platform for just getting together, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. Again, this is just my own evolution. I'm going to blog about this too, try to get this out, all the stuff in my head. But like, ultimately, yeah, I don't know. Like in the beginning, I used to walk in and it was like, oh, you're going to do Google since you're here, and that's just not what I'm necessarily interested in. Not to say that I wouldn't do that or take rocks and sucks or Twitter, intro session. Those are kind of staples for folks that are there to kind of get them rolling, get them connected.
Mm-hmm.
All those sorts of things, and I think those have a place without a doubt. It reminded me, Josh, of what you told me once upon a time with Nita when I was kind of, I don't want to say complaining, but similarly discussing like, gosh, these things that are there, and you were like, well, Brent, you got to remember, there's these people that are brand new to technology at this conference, and
Mm-hmm.
I think there's that element of Ed Camp too that I certainly have supported on the sense of leading those other sessions, and I'm okay with that too. It's just every one I walk into is a little different, and I had a great time this weekend, so I'm glad I made it up.
Absolutely. Well, again, appreciate you guys being there and your thoughts. And I definitely love Ed Camps, and I'm grateful for UNO to be able to host it. And Christina Peters, have to give her a huge shout out
Mm-hmm.
as the co-organizer, and her and I work really well together. We both get some crazy ideas, and the other one kind of brings us back down into some reality. So let's move on. Dad moment of the week. Saturday night, we just talked about, we had Ed Camp, as is we've done for all 5 years. We have a pre-party and we have a little after-party. Not very well attended, but a lot of fun, and I think it's a very valuable piece for those people that, Toby Brown and Christine Reuter, two examples of people that drive 6 hours. Waddy Pow Pow is another one. They don't leave after the conference; they stay another night, and so it's just a chance for anyone who's in town to come and have supper and do whatever. And so we did that Saturday night, and I get a text from my wife, who is at home watching the kids, of my son on a mattress sliding down the steps with all of these pillows in front of the front door. And I'm thinking, that's my job. It's my job to do things that Mom would not like. And It was hilarious. They recreated it for me on Sunday. They just piled a whole bunch of, my daughters have these, they call them like princess pillow beds or something like that. They all fold up, they're really cute. Well, my son obviously doesn't have one. So he was bringing this little mattress that we were having him stay on because we had a guest at our house Friday and Saturday night. And so he'd been sleeping on this. So yeah, he rode that. He had the girls push him off the steps at the top and slid down the mattress, down the steps, into the door. So good times had by all. Brent, what do you got?
Oh my gosh, I was just tweeting back Rob.
Oh,
You
sorry.
threw me off. Go to Devin for a minute, not please,
Devin.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, mine will be quick though, Brent. So be ready.
Okay.
I've mentioned before that my oldest daughter, Grace, and I will be running the Lincoln Half Marathon together in May, and this last weekend was really the first time that we've gotten out to go for a run together, with the weather being what it was, and with as busy as we've been, either between basketball for me or just other things she has going on, guitar and volleyball and everything else. So it was kind of fun just to get out and we got about 4 miles in together on Sunday, and it's just cool to kind of have that experience with her. So I was pretty jacked to go out and get in a run with Grace on Sunday.
Very cool. For me, Sunday was a day for me too because I was gone Friday night to head Camp Omaha, and then Saturday came home. I got home at 5, turned around 5:30. My assistant technology director picked me up to go to the fundraiser, so I was pretty much gone until late. But Sunday, then my wife probably just wanted to say, "Here, you jerk, take the kids." So I had all the kids, and she ran off with a friend that was in town for a concert, and including the baby. So I got to feed the baby for the first time with bottle because my wife is breastfeeding, and so I don't know. There's something about that for me when they're just looking up at you, and that was my first opportunity to do that. I haven't had that chance, so that's going to go down as my dad's in Ed moment of the week for sure. Just enjoying. He's growing so fast already. It's crazy to think he's almost 4 weeks. I'm like, where did that time go? So for me, that would be it.
Nice.
It was crazy, even just to see the picture you posted today. He looked,
Yeah.
he looked a lot bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just sorry. Go ahead. You're fine. I was reading a tweet. I'm sorry. We got a lot of Twitter followers out there tonight, so I'm just trying to keep up with everybody.
I loved Badura's comment about the luckiest man in the world, and I would agree with Devin. Jim Nance being able to do the championship and Masters all in a week.
Mm-hmm. Best job in sports, right there. You know, the other one who has the best job in sports, if it's not Nance, is actually Omaha's own Kevin Kugler, who just does the radio version of both of those. I don't know if he still does the Masters, but he always has in the past, where he would do NCAA championship and Masters on the radio, which would be a pretty sweet gig too.
Typical Nebraska guy, just got all the luck in the world. That's how we are.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to be joined this week by Eric Curts. Eric, welcome to the program. We have done this the last couple of weeks where the guest is someone who is new to two of us, and the last one was really good that Brent gave us. So we're hoping that you can live up to that. No pressure to start you off with.
Well, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, you're great.
All right. Your last guest was JR, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That is correct.
Yeah, JR was in the same Google Teacher Academy with me. So I know JR, so we're connected that way as well. So
Cool, good.
Happy to be following up with him. That's following after him. That's fantastic.
We saved the better ones for later. You can tell JR that.
All right.
I think we'll tell JR that too.
Right.
So
we
Eric,
tell every guest.
That's true. Wonder what happens when we have a repeat guest on. Then what do we tell them?
They have to improve themselves.
That's true. You weren't good enough last time.
How have you grown since last time?
Well, Eric, tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, your job, all those details.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Eric Curts. I live in Northeast Ohio in the Akron-Canton area. So I'm in the Eastern time zone, so it's knocking on 10 o'clock here, but I'm a night owl, so it's fine. I'd be up till midnight anyway, so not a problem at all. I'll start with my job. I work for what we call ITCs, Information Technology Center here in Ohio. It's kind of like a regional service center. I started off as a teacher, actually. I was a math teacher for 7 years at North Canton, and then moved into being a technology integration specialist for about 9 years at the same school, and then I was the technology coordinator for about 5 years at that school, and then I now have moved to the county level at this ITC called SPARC. It's Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium, so SPARC. No connection to Park. If there's any Park people out there, it's spelled almost the same. There's an S in front of it, but no connection to Park whatsoever. And so now I work at the county level. I've been there 2 years. This is my 23rd year in education. And my role is now technology integration for 2 counties. And so my job is to work with about 28 school districts, providing technology integration support. A lot of it is Google stuff. 27 of our 28 districts are Google Apps districts, so I do everything from rolling out Google Apps and managing it to all the professional development training with the teachers on how to use it, things like that. And then I also oversee online learning. That's another area that falls under there. We got about 21 or so districts that do a lot of online learning, so I oversee that portion as well. So that's kind of my career side of things. As far as the personal side, I have a beautiful wife and 4 kids. My kids range quite a lot. My daughter is 23 years old, and she's already graduated from college, and she's married and off on her own. Thankfully, not too far away. She lives about half an hour away. Fantastic. And then I've got 3 stepsons from my second marriage, which is with my current wife, and they are in 6th grade, 4th grade, and 2nd grade. So 12 years old, 10 years old, and 8 years old, and all boys and all close together. So a little bit of a difference between raising my daughter and then suddenly, hey, guess what? You've got 3 boys. So
Nice, quiet, calm little girl.
Yeah. It was a bit of an awakening for me. I'm like, how hard can it be to raise all of these children? I raised this female human, and she's fine, and she's intelligent and wonderful, and creative and great, and don't get me wrong, the boys are phenomenal. They are all afterburner and no rudder. I mean, they're just. It was a total world of difference for me when that happened. But they've been in my life for about 7 years now. So they were very young when I did meet their mom and when we got married. So for the youngest ones, I don't know that they honestly have memories really strong that I'm not a part of. I mean, I think when you think of being how far back can you actually think when you're a child? You start getting memories around, I don't know, 3 or 4 or something where things kind of stick, So I think for the 2 youngest boys, I mean, they kind of, as far as they know, I've always been there as far as they know. But so yes, it is a blended family, kind of a unique situation there, but good stuff. So that's a little bit about who I am.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was going to say, Eric, good to see you again. It's been since New York a couple of years ago, but
yeah.
I'm glad to have you on the show for real, though. And I know you have a lot to offer us and our listeners, but in the realm of your daughter, so I've got 1 daughter, 4 boys, and all of our kids are younger yet. And I know Devin's got some daughters, and Josh has some daughters. I only have 1, but what's that like, man, in the marriage piece, giving her away to this guy? And I'm kind of curious, like, what was that experience like?
It was phenomenal. I mean, it truly, truly was. Now, I have to credit a lot of that to my daughter and to her husband. I knew her husband before she knew him, okay, because I was a teacher and he was a few years older than her. And so he and his brother and his sister came through our school system. And I didn't have him as a student, but I had his sister and I knew his brother. And then the whole family went to our church. So I was in the same Bible study with his mom and dad. And so I've known, that family for a very long time. So when they started dating, I was like, yeah, all right, this is good. I'm happy with this. And I mean, if for those that don't know me, I'm a nerd. I'm a total nerd. I'm a geek. I listen to you guys talking about sports here, and I'm going, please don't ask me a sports question. You put the ball in the thing, and you run and you hit it, and I don't do those things. I'm a nerd. It's Doctor Who, and it's video games and all that kind of stuff. That's who I am. And so thankfully, so is my daughter. And so is her husband. And so I'm like, yay, she found a nerd boy. It's great, And so that was always good. I was very, very happy that they were together. However, he goes through college, she goes through college, graduate, all that kind of stuff. It's time for them to get married. It was amazing. It was beautiful, but I will be honest, I cried. I mean, I just did. I mean, it was, I walk her down the aisle, and I'm going, yeah, I can do this. I can hold this together. It was a beautiful wedding. It was a winter wedding. They had all these gorgeous church with tons of windows, and it was snowing outside, and it was just gorgeous, And I walk her down the aisle, and I give her away, and I sit down, and then I'm going, I can do it, and I couldn't do it. and I just start crying, but it was wonderful. It was absolutely beautiful. And then afterwards, you have the reception. You do the father-daughter dance. So, she said months before that, Dad, you got to pick out a song. It took me maybe 10 seconds to say Wide-Eyed Wonder. This is a song by a group called The Choir. It's from back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, back when I was in high school and college. And it's the song might be a little bit later than that, but that's when I knew the group from, and it's just this song about this dad singing to his little child about how the world is just this beautiful, amazing thing, but it's also scary and dangerous, and you're going to get hurt, so hold on tight to me, and I used to sing that to her, and that was one of our songs when we were kids, and I immediately knew right away when she said, what's our song? I go, it's going to be Wide-Eyed Wonder. And we played that and danced it, and I sang it to her in the dance, and oh my gosh, it was wonderful. So, I want you to know, you hear all these, horror stories about giving away your daughter and how difficult it is. No, it's been fantastic. I mean, I still have a great relationship with her. She lives half an hour away. Her husband's a great guy. I was just up there this last weekend hanging out with them and playing board games and eating spaghetti, and it's great. So, I would encourage you to look forward to eventually giving away your daughter, because it's a change of relationship. She's still my daughter, but they become more of your friend, as they get older, and it's a shift in that relationship.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I know all of us, think about that and worry about that and all those things with our daughters getting older. So that's very, very good to hear. That's comforting.
Oh, yeah.
If we move in another direction, kind of, you just mentioned it towards the end of the little, when you're talking about your daughter, and you mentioned earlier with your geeky and nerdy side, is this whole idea of board games.
Oh, yeah.
And that you love to play board games, we understand, and not just your typical board games, but all kinds of different board games. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then maybe mention, we understand that you guys are creating your own board game as well. Is that true?
Yeah. I love video games, absolutely, and my kids, my boys, they've all got Nexus 7s, and we've got, an Xbox, and we got all that kind of stuff. But you know what? It's also really fun just to sit down at a table with physical pieces on a board and move them around and play games where you're looking face to face with each other and interacting. And I think sometimes, people are like, yeah, that is awesome and that's fun. But we think back to our childhood and we go, okay, so what do I got? I've got Risk, I've got Monopoly, I've got Sorry, and that's true. Those are all fine. But if you don't know it, if you're not aware, anybody out there listening, we are in a renaissance of board games right now. There are hundreds and hundreds of phenomenal board games out there that you're not going to find necessarily in Walmart. Now you may, they're starting to creep in more, but you might have to go on Amazon to order these things. You might have to see if there's a board game store nearby. A lot of places don't have them. We're very, very lucky. We've got one about half an hour north of us here. And I do try to buy things from them, but a lot of times I get things off of Amazon because that's the way to go. And there are great websites out there focused on, being a dad and playing board games with your kids. And if you don't know, well, what's a good one out there? There's podcasts on this. There's websites on this. And so I'll listen to these podcasts and I'll go to these websites and say, oh, that one sounds kind of cool. Zombie Dice. Yeah, I think Zombie Dice would be fun. And so, I go and I read about it on Amazon, and or if you like YouTube, you can watch Tabletop. That's a web series that Will Wheaton does, and it's phenomenal because they'll actually play the game. You can watch the game, get played, and go, that would be great for the kids, or no, that one's not going to be all that great. And so we play things like Settlers of Catan and Zombie Dice and Munchkin and Snake Oil and all these different games that maybe aren't your traditional ones, but they're crazy fun, and it's a great way. I mean, we sometimes we roll on the floor laughing, other times, my youngest is having a fit and panicking and screaming because we're about to knock him out of a game. It's like, it's okay, buddy, it's just a game, it's going to be okay. But they have to learn these things. They have to learn that. But see, there's also games that aren't always competitive. There's cooperative games. There's one called Forbidden Island, and Forbidden Island is where you're working together, and basically this island is sinking, and there are 4 treasures you have to collect, and you have to all work together as a team using your different abilities to try to get all 4 treasures before the tide keeps rising, the island sinks, and then you can get to the helipad and get out of there. It is a phenomenal game, which many times you lose because it's really, really, really hard to win, but you have such a great time, and you're not competing against each other, you're working together. So all of those kind of things are really neat. Out of all of that came the fact that, yes, we are actually making our own game. Not going to say that it's ever going to show up on Amazon or anything like that, but here's the neat thing. You know how we live in this world now where self-publishing is very possible. I mean, you guys are doing a podcast right now. I do a podcast with Sean Beavers and Eric Griffith, the State of Tech, and all of that. So I've done podcasts too. So you're creating a podcast. People self-publish books. People create their own music in their garage, and you never even need a record label, and they can put it out there. The same things happen with board games. You can now create your own board games that are really, really nice, and they look like professional things. I use a website called thegamecrafter.com, and you can basically create all your stuff using Photoshop or whatever. I actually used Google Drawings. I created my board and created my cards and all that. You upload it to the site, and about 2 weeks later, it shows up. And actually, I probably got it laying around here somewhere. It probably is in here somewhere. I don't even know where I put it at the moment. It's behind me or it's on something around here. But we decided to kind of as a family make a game. And so it's still in development. I mean, we have printed the first version of it. It's called Dig. It's an ancient Egyptian ruin, and you're trying to roll dice to flip over cards, in effect digging them. And if you have a high enough die roll, you can flip over certain cards, and you're digging down through, and there's good things you find, and there's bad things you find. You're trying to find, so many onks, which is the Egyptian symbol of life, to win, but you're competing against the others. And it's been a blast. We've been doing this since around Christmas time, and we actually have a working prototype now, and we play it as a family, and then we say, well, what about this? My oldest son really is into it. He's the 12-year-old. He'll say, he goes, I think that idea really worked, but maybe we should try to change this one. I mean, he really thinks about it and comes up to me later and gives me suggestions on how we can redo some of the cards. I'm like, Carter, that's a great idea. Let's try that. So yeah, as far as board games go, I would definitely encourage any dads out there, dust them off, go find some new ones, sit down with your kids and play. It's a blast.
That is, we did tweet out the link to digboardgame.com.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Even if you're listening to the podcast, digboardgame.com, or else go to the Dads and Ed Twitter account, and we've forwarded it out from there. Rob Lindquist, who we assaulted for finally showing up earlier, now says that we need to ask Devin about Risk Nights. Devin, would you like to explain?
Yeah, nothing like a group of grown men who get together. We haven't done it. It's been a few weeks now, but we typically get together once a week on a school night and play a game of Risk. It's an ongoing thing. There's a whole point system and a traveling trophy. It's pretty bad. Yeah, it's something. So yeah, I wish I had the trophy here, but I don't win very often, and I could show it to you. But we play Risk almost once a night through the year. It's a pretty good time.
Nice.
I just have a comment too. I've started playing, not playing, but doing puzzles with the kids of late, and I've really enjoyed that. And hadn't really, I mean, I've thought about the board game thing, but my kids are quite a bit younger yet at this point. But so the puzzle thing's been kind of a nice way to consume some time with them, have them sit on my lap. I just like the critical thinking of that, of course, and we're kind of up in our standards in the number of puzzles, you know what I'm saying, and the pieces and such. But I love the idea of just board games with the kids, put all the technology away and sit there face to face and interact. I think that's awesome.
And we have like Candyland and Shoots and Ladders on the iPad, but it's very rare that kids will choose to go do that over something that is tactical like that. And our kids love sitting down and playing. I love the idea of creating our own. I'll have to figure out which one of my kids is creative enough to come up with ideas to do that. Switching gears a little bit, Eric, and talk a little bit about webinars. I know you got one coming up tomorrow that I'm hoping to be able to join. I need to double check on the time. But tell us a little bit about webinars. You said you're at covering a huge geographic area. How are you utilizing those, and what do you do for those?
Absolutely. As I transition off that last one, I will say one quick thing to Brent. With little kids, if you haven't checked out HABA games, H-A-B-A, HABA games are usually really good for younger kids that allow a lot of creativity and stuff. So if you're looking for something to check out on Amazon or whatever, H-A-B-A, HABA games, pretty good for the young kids. It does get a lot funner as they get older, though. It really does. You get to do
cool.
get away from Candyland. Yeah, webinars. Well, basically, like I said, yeah, I serve at a regional service center, so I'm serving about 28 districts. I'd say there's about 70,000 students represented across those districts, and you want to try to make the most impact you can. So, we do a lot of different professional development. Certainly, there's face-to-face stuff. Absolutely. I mean, I run professional development sessions there at the office. We do Google Boot Camps in the summer. We do stuff on site. If a school says, hey, can you come out and do trainings? Absolutely. I go to the buildings, and all of that's great. But still, there's only one of you and how many of them? And I'm very fortunate to have a coworker who works with me. So there's two of us on our tech integration team. But still, that's just two of us. So we were kind of throwing around ideas earlier this year saying, how can we stretch our impact, And we said, sometimes you'll do a training, it'll go really well, and you think to yourself, if I only had filmed that, I would never have to say that again. I could just package it and say, here you go, here it is. And so that was the plan, was to say, okay, let's do webinars, and so that we can have this stuff in the can. And it's not that it's going to take the place of face-to-face, but it can really supplement it, because even if you could get to all the schools as much as possible, that still doesn't always work for every teacher's schedule. They may not be available, they may not want to stay after, and so some people, they've got free time when the kids are in bed. So it's 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night. Now they've got free time, and so if there was something they could watch recorded at their leisure, that would be great. So back in December, we tried the first one. We've done about 10 of them now, and if anybody wants to get to these, the fastest link is just TI, which is Tech Integration, .apps.spark, SPARCC.org. So that's our Tech Integration page. So ti.apps.spark, SPARCC.org. And from there you can find the recorded trainings and the upcoming schedule. We've done about 10 of them so far. A lot of them have been Google focused, just because, again, we have 27 of our 28 districts, but not all of them, and we've got other things sprinkled in there. And we try to do them once a week, typically a Tuesday or a Thursday, and it's gone really, really well. I've just been really happy with this. Basically, We're doing it entirely with free tools. I do the actual webinar in a Google Hangout, so just like you guys are doing, I do a Google Hangout on air, so it's all recorded automatically to YouTube. I do very minimal editing. What I mean by that is I'll chop off maybe any dead space at the front, and that's it. I mean, really, I'm not, if I goof up, ha ha ha, I laugh and I move on. I'm not going to worry about it. It's just got to go live to hard drive, kind of. So I use a Google Hangout to do the webinar and to record it to YouTube. We use a Google site to host all of the resources and to show the videos. We use a Google form for people to register for the webinar. When they're done watching the webinar, either live or recorded, because they can certainly watch it live if they want. If they do watch it live, by the way, it's not interactive, kind of like we have here with you guys. It really is more of a webinar of presenting information, but what we do is we have a shared Google Doc that anybody can jump in, ask questions. So if I'm doing a webinar, then my coworker, he's monitoring the shared Google Doc and vice versa, so that we can take questions that way. When it's done and somebody either watches it live or watches it recorded, we then have a 5-question quiz they can take, and that quiz is a Google form as well. When they take the quiz, I then use some formulas in there to grade the quiz for them, and then I use Autocrat to auto-generate a PDF certificate of attendance that is sent out to them if they pass it. If not, they get an auto-generated email that says you did not pass it, but here's some resources, please try again. And so basically we're building this library where at the moment, I should have checked right before, but as of this morning, we've had with the, I don't know, like I said, we've had 10 or so videos. We're coming up on 3,000 views of those videos, and that's fantastic. And as far as people that actually then went on to take the quiz and get the certificate, we're coming up on about 300 of those. So we've given away about 300 contact hours that they can then turn into their professional development, organization there. And it's great because it just kind of runs itself. Once I've done a webinar, it can be a year from now. Somebody can go, oh, this is really cool. Here's a neat thing about, doing, collaborating with Google Docs or whatever it is. They can watch the webinar, learn from it. If they want to take the quiz, they can. It'll auto-generate the certificate. I don't have to touch a thing after that. So it's so far worked out to be a pretty good system. We're gonna, keep on it for now and keep developing it and keep going with it. But I think, what we're trying to do again is provide teachers with options. So there's more than one way to get your instruction. Yes, we'll still do face-to-face at our site. We'll still go out to their school and do face-to-face. We'll still do all of that stuff. But we're also going to have, hopefully, this that we can point people to and say, hey, here's a whole catalog of these 1-hour webinars that you can go through and all the resources that go along with them. Now, tomorrow, the one I'm doing, you mentioned I'm doing one on Google Communities. So it'll be all about how schools could use Google Communities if they wanted to take advantage of that tool. Yeah.
Well, I think that's perfect, and I actually just signed up for tomorrow's webinar because your Eastern time actually works out great in my schedule. So I appreciate that.
Sure.
I do something similar, but I don't have 3,000 views. At another time, I may have to chat about how we can pick your brain about how I can get more people to watch what I do. Maybe it has to be better. Maybe that's the problem, like higher quality or something like that.
The problem is the beard, Josh. It's the beard.
Whatever, he's got a beard.
Beards are man. It's all about beards. Man.
No, that beard is fine. Your beard is fine.
Just because you're clean shaven.
It's not beards in general. Just kidding. I can only say that because I shave today because I have to do that every few months for my wife. Otherwise, she won't talk to me anymore. So. Hey, one thing, Eric, we like to ask people kind of when they're on this whole thing is about being an educator, about being a dad, and we've talked a lot about how one impacts the other. So once because we had kids or when we had kids, it changed the way that we either felt about or the way we thought through education. And then also the same thing, having being at schools and working with kids in education, how that impacts us as being dads. So how about you?
Oh, absolutely. And I think we kind of hinted at it earlier in the fact that I had a daughter, and it was just, one kid. So an only child. She was a girl. She was very well mannered. She was very intelligent. It's the one that nature gives you to kind of trick you into making more children. It's like, oh yeah, see, they're great, they're wonderful. Just have a bunch of them. And so I was a teacher while my daughter was growing up, and basically I was raising a gifted child, who was just very, very nice and did everything you wanted. Now that I have the three boys, they are very different. I'm sure you guys know this. You can have multiple children and be like, did gypsies leave you? There's no way. You're nothing like these other children. Where did you come from? And the three boys, they are phenomenal, but they are so different. I mean, Carter's the oldest. He's very much like my daughter because he was an only child for my wife at first. So he's the make everybody happy, do everything right kind of person. And then you got Mason. He's the middle one, and the middle kid gets lost sometimes. And so I think he did. I think he fell through the cracks a little bit. And because you got the older one who can take care of himself, then you got the baby who needs to be taken care of, and the middle kid sometimes gets lost, and so he struggles a bit in school. But the thing is, he's really, really smart in ways that are so different. I like to read stories to my kids, and so as they get older, they can read bigger books. I read the book Wonder, which is the one about the child with the facial deformities, and it's a fantastic novel. And he'd say, "Hey, I've got a question," I'd ask them a question, and he would be the one who would answer things that were like very deep and insightful. I'm like, holy cow, how can you as a kid be thinking that deep into how these characters are feeling? And then I've got Grant, my youngest, and he's just nuts. I mean, he's just crazy. He has no fear about anything, and sometimes that's bad. He's broken bones and the other kids haven't. The point of all this is I realized I really didn't know a whole lot about kids. I just as a teacher, everything I saw through the eyes of my daughter, this perfect little gifted kid, And now I understand so much more about how every child is unique and how every child has strengths and how every child has weaknesses. And it's important for us to be able to see what makes that child special and see where their strengths are and see where their gifts are. I also am way, way, way more gracious with kids. I think, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but I think teachers just get mad at kids way too much. You don't understand where they're coming from and what happened to them before they got there that day. And you know what? I hate to say it, but guys, it's only school. You don't matter all that much in the end. They're passing through. Don't blow this out of proportion. It's more important that we're connecting with these kids and that we're helping them than they forgot a pencil. Don't blow up about that. Find the good. And so I guess as a dad now, having seen kids, who are gifted, kids that are struggling. My middle son was on an IEP for a while. I've seen that whole range. I think I'm just way, way, way more gracious. Not that I've dropped my standards. No, I still expect them to succeed and to do great, but I'm broadening what that definition is. What it means for a student to be successful. And not everybody has to go to college, and not everybody has to follow the same path. Everybody's got their own unique abilities and skills, and we need to kind of get out of their way and help scaffold them up to become what they can be. So I'm really glad that I got to do that and not go out through the rest of my life saying, well, my kid turned out perfect. So it was very humbling for me. It really was. And I'm glad I'm glad I learned that.
Great points, Eric, and we are very glad that you are able to join us for the evening. We do have a few other things to take care of, some other housekeeping items. Can you stick around for a few more minutes?
Sure thing.
All right. First up, I will put the link out here in just a second. I have the app or site of the week. I am going to just throw out Instagram, and the reason why is last November, we did some educators here in Nebraska did a Twitter challenge that was very successful, and one of the things that we talked about is we really like the idea of Instagram as a way to take a quick picture, post it online, share what's going on in your classroom. And so we got together in late February and developed the Edu Insta 9 challenge. 9 challenges leading up to the start of the Major League Baseball season. Today was number 1. It's open to anyone who wants to. I will put a link to an explanation of the challenge, and if you search EDU Insta 9 on Instagram, you'll see everyone's pictures for today, those that are at least public accounts. And you can also do it on Twitter as well. There's been quite a few people. I was just looking at the hashtag before the show started, and a lot of people have shared what they did on Instagram on Twitter also. So if you're interested, if you have teachers that are interested, by all means, it's 5 days this week and 4 days next week. We don't do the weekends, so feel free to check that out. There'll be a new one posted tomorrow morning, and just different tips and ideas for what you can do with Instagram. Today was take a selfie in your workplace, combining just kind of getting to know people and seeing where everybody's at. So
Hey, Josh,
that was my Instagram challenge. Yeah.
couple questions on this challenge. First of all, today was just super hectic for me. I didn't even stop breathing the whole day, and I didn't have lunch, so I never got to post mine. I got home and noticed it later. But you mentioned too, because my account's private, but if I hashtag it though, it would be seen. Yes?
No. This is a common misconception. If you post it to Twitter, people can see it. But according to their policies, you should not be able to see it just in the general public. Now, I can click, because I follow you. You have approved me to follow your account. I can see your picture. Devin could see your picture. But, like, for example, Eric does not follow me on Instagram, so he would not be able to see what I posted if he looked at that hashtag.
Really? See, so I've kind of this throws me off a little bit, because I thought, you guys see my stuff on Instagram where I'll put hashtag Kennedy Lou or Charlie and the kids' names. There have been times where I've then searched that name and say for Charlie, and there's all kinds of stuff. So I'm kind of wondering if the outside user can see that. So sometimes I wondered about that as I put the kids' names on there.
I looked it up. It will show up when you are looking, because you have that account and you're logged in.
Okay.
But I did, because I'm the same way. My account's private. I did look it up in Instagram's help menu last week. Someone else was asking about it, because they were kind of in the same boat. So anyone who follows you will see it, but the general public will not, unless you put it on Twitter.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So. Anywho, I don't know if I'll be able to participate unless I get some other account going. But it's very cool. I did look at the tag today and was able to see all those folks. Jim Holman, I got to give him a shout out. His picture was hilarious. He was like laying on the ground in his classroom, and it's like a profile picture. Did you see that?
I did. Yes.
It just cracked me up.
I was a little worried. I was hoping he wasn't hurt.
Yeah, I know.
I've fallen and I can't get up, but I can post it to Instagram.
Yeah, it's like he's in one of those bathroom hospitals and he had the little cord he needs to pull. No.
So you heard.
Yeah. Am I up for Twitter follow?
Yeah.
Can we move on? Host Josh.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go with a fellow named Lance Lennon. He's out of the great state of Iowa in Eagle Grove. His Twitter handle is L Lennon, and it's spelled L and then another L, ENNON. He's a technology director out of Eagle Grove Community School District, and he's also on the iTech board, which is similar to the NETA board up in Nebraska or the METC board down in Missouri. And he mentions on his Twitter profile that technology and education are his career and his passions. And he's a gentleman that I often reach out to for Google domain stuff. I know he's heavy into that in his district. So when I run into questions, and I've had an opportunity to meet Lance. The first time I met him was for some PD we did for Jamie Fath out in Des Moines one time that I attended and spoke at. And then I want to say I saw him at the Google Summit in Lincoln one time. So a great guy in person as well, and just helpful on Twitter. So as I use my network for all kinds of different things, he's kind of one of those guys I really reach out to for Google domain advice, or is he experiencing the same thing we're experiencing with, Drive or something going on in our domain in Independence. So Lance Lennon at L Lennon is my Twitter follow of the night.
Eric, I want to put you on the spot. Give us someone that we should be following, either personal, professional, either one.
Well, I'm afraid I'll probably say somebody you've already had or mentioned in the past, but I definitely would give a shout out to Alice Keeler. Have you guys mentioned her before on there?
So. I'm not sure we mentioned Alice.
Okay, because if you haven't, Alice is phenomenal, and she helps me with a lot of the trainings. One of these days I'll actually meet Alice in person. I've worked with her on a ton of things. She's in California, I'm in Ohio, but I'll do some trainings on Hangouts, and she'll always be my partner to jump in the Hangout to show things to people and how it works. So she's fantastic. She tweets all the time. She blogs all the time, and has fantastic stuff to say. So. I would definitely say Alice, and I'm trying to think what her Twitter, if it's, actually I'm going to forget what her actual handle is at the moment.
I think it's Alice Keeler altogether.
I think
it is just, Alice Keeler, ALICEKEELER, Keeler, KEELER, Alice Keeler. Can't go wrong with Alice.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to meeting Alice in July in Chicago. Both be there presenting at a conference. So she was on the list, featured speaker that'll be there for that week with her, and it's actually somebody I was really looking forward to meeting because she does a lot of great things on Twitter.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And then just another quick thing about Lance, since you mentioned him, Brett. Lance is a great guy. He's on the iTech board, which I'm on now too, and we were just together for the iTech IT conference. And so think about this. Somebody mentioned this when we were with him the other day. You know the Sonic commercials? The two guys in the car.
Yeah.
The guy on the left, Lance Lennon. So if you know Lance at all and you talk to Lance, it's Lance. Lance is that guy. So really, really funny as you mentioned Lance. I was thinking back to us talking to him last couple days, last Thursday and Friday, about being the guy in the Sonic commercials.
That is
and if you don't know, if you haven't seen him, just YouTube him, and he's the guy on the left. So I'm going to share an event that's coming up, and it's coming up in a couple of weeks here, and that's the Iowa One-to-One Conference, and I'll tweet out the link to it now. There's still time to register for that, or at least I hope there is, because I haven't done it yet. It's a one-day conference. They've added a second day, which is a leadership day. They did that last year with Patrick Larkin. And they've added it this year too, and I can't remember who the guy is going to be for the first day. But it's a really great conference, all about learning, one-to-one learning, all about instructional technology use, purposeful, meaningful instructional technology use. Lots of great people that will be speaking on the conference day on April 8th. So if you haven't registered yet, it's a one-day deal. You can get up to Des Moines and back in a day if you need to, if you're close. And I would encourage you to kind of look that up. And it's I just tweeted out the link, iowa1to1.com.
Awesome. I might have to try to make that. Do you have a date on it, Devin?
April 8th.
April 8th, which is the Wednesday.
April 7th is the leadership day. April 8th is the full-day conference.
Yep. You should make it up.
Yeah.
If nothing else, former Dads and Ed guest Shaylin Farnsworth is on one of the rotating pictures at the top, so that's probably right. This says Buddy Berry, Superintendent of Eminence Independent Schools in Kentucky, is the Leadership Day leader.
Yeah.
I don't know him.
I didn't either. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure he's fantastic.
Sure he is.
Don't judge him. Don't judge him by our lack of knowledge. There's a lot of things we don't know. As anyone who's watched this for 5 minutes knows. Yes. All right, well, Eric, thank you so much for your time. Gentlemen, I don't think we screwed up anything we can't, justify, so not too shabby. Eric, thanks again. We really do appreciate your time.
Hey, well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much, Eric.
Absolutely appreciate it. It was a blast. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Eric.
All right.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks again.
We are back in 2 weeks with Felix Giacomino. Is going to be joining us from the beautiful Miami area. Brent will get a name drop another wonderful place he's been to with another wonderful person. 3 weeks in a row. Look how great that is, Brent.
Yes, indeed.
Didn't realize that until just now. All right. Until next time, we'll see you later.